I think I've said it already, right? The way of living is different here. I've even seen people make funny videos of how you can see someone today, you talk and you vibe very well. And you see them the next day, it's almost as if you guys did not talk. It's almost like, do I
Do I
know
know
you?
you?
Even for my son, I've not had any bad experiences with them too, with my son. In fact, I don't feel like my son has more priority than I do. I've called them one time before for my son and myself, and they gave him an appointment right away, and they told me to call back. There's
They gave you
priority
an
for
appointment.
him
Oh, they
immediately,
gave him, but then they say you
and they
should
said I
wait.
should call back.
I think we can begin.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Here I
Sorry.
have with me.
Sorry. I
What
did
is
like
it?
this now. I
Oh, I
started
didn't.
saying hello everybody,
Oh,
so.
hello. Okay. Here I have with me Tegah.
Mm-hmm.
And is that your English name?
I don't have an English name actually.
Oh,
My parents are very Nigerian. So I have Tegah from my mother's side and Sheun, Oluwaseun from my father's side. So I'm partly Delta and partly from the western side, Yoruba.
and we're going to be talking about some of our experiences here in Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
And the theme of this video is actually around healthcare. So it's not one of those general, what is your experience in the Netherlands? There'll be a few questions here and there, but we're mostly focused on the healthcare experience she has had, especially related to pregnancy. Yeah, she'll also be sharing a bit of the negative, in quote, sides of the healthcare. But yeah, the goal of this video is just so you have a good idea of how these things are here. Again, related to her experience, and also for somebody who is a foreigner coming from a different country like Nigeria. But before we move further, you can continue your introduction from where you stopped.
Okay, hello guys, my name is Tegah and I'm from
Speak louder.
this video go cut well. Hello guys, my name is Tegah and yeah, I've been in the Netherlands for 3 years now. And I'm a mom of one. I have a son and yeah.
Nice.
Very brief.
Very brief and straight to the point. Nice.
Yeah.
Anyways, Tegah also makes videos. Well, she used to make
Come
videos.
on, I still make
She's
now.
currently on a on a
Sabbatical.
break. But she also makes videos and she's been sharing a lot of her experiences in Netherlands. I think you've also made a video on healthcare
Culture
also.
shock. So I talked about the
Okay,
healthcare a
culture
bit.
shock. Yeah. Her YouTube channel, I'll link it in the video description. You can also and check it out. I think she also brings this nice perspective of a mom in the Netherlands. Yeah, if you're interested in those kind of things, definitely check out her channel. What motivated you to relocate to the Netherlands?
So for me, I got married to my husband. I was dating him for like maybe 4 or 5 years. Then we had a split. He's going to see this video. I always talk about the split. Then we came back together. And as about the time we came back together, I was already here for his master's. And after his master's, he got a job. Then he came back home and we got married. And of course, you want to be with someone you love, right? So for me, leaving everything behind and moving to the Netherlands with him was what I wanted. And of course, I think maybe loneliness also motivated me. I did not want to be alone.
How long was he here before you joined him?
Funny thing is, we got married December 4th. We already started the process. That was the court wedding. So the week of my wife's wedding, they already sent us the confirmation mail that they've already received everything. So that was December 19th. So we spent the whole of January together in Nigeria. And February 1st, we came together. So
Okay.
I didn't have to wait or come after he went. We came
Oh, okay,
together. Yeah.
together. That is also helpful because when you already have somebody who is here, it probably makes something smoother for
Of
you
course it is.
compared to people like me who we came here and we started making all the mistakes ourselves.
But that's why it's good you have videos. So with your
Yeah,
videos you make, people already know what to expect and
yeah,
what not to expect.
true.
And I think you're already doing a good job, by the
Oh,
way.
thank you.
You're
I didn't know
welcome.
I was doing a good
You
job
are.
until you
Isn't he
told me.
doing it? You guys should comment. He's doing a good job, right?
How has your experience living in the Netherlands been?
Honestly, I would really say it's been good. And not because I'm in front of a camera right now. I really think I've had a good stay here. Of course, it's different from home, right? Back home, you have this communal way of living. You know your neighbors. Your neighbors can come play with your kids. You can leave
Yeah,
your kids with your neighbor. You don't need to make appointments because it's something that's very common. You guys like appointments.
afspraak.
You want to see it's almost like this. Your friend, oh, Dillion, I think we should have a meeting, but let me check.
My calendar, yeah.
Are you gonna be free?
Yeah,
Back home it's just like we just go see our friends, but here
yeah,
it's quite different. But
yeah.
I've really not had any bad experience. Yeah,
Mm.
it's been easy moving around with my son. Anything I want to eat, I can actually go to an African store and I can still find our African food in the store. So I think
Not
life has
always
been good.
100%, but it's
Mm.
almost close to home.
Yeah, of course, there's yam. When I have yam, there's no issue again.
back home, you know your neighbor, you know who is. If
Yeah.
somebody should even knock on your door and be like, "Oh, I'm looking for this person," you'd be like, "Is
Yes, go there, go there.
that?"
Yeah.
But it's different here. But can you also highlight more of those differences, cultural differences, lifestyle differences that you have experienced?
You said culture shock in the video, the one you sent to me.
Is this culture shock? Culture differences? Where did you see?
I think I've said it already, right? The way of living is different here. I've even seen people make funny videos of how you can see someone today, you talk and you vibe very well, and you see them the next day. It's almost as if you guys did not talk. It's almost like, do I
Do I
know
know
you?
you?
And then you're like, what is going on here? I
We were
thought we were,
smiling
you
yesterday.
know. Oh, bicycles. Back in Nigeria, back in my country, I think one of the fastest ways to die
Yeah.
is by cycling on the roads, you know. But here is so safe. They have like a lot of cycling paths. In fact, I don't know what I've not seen people carrying on a bike.
Yeah.
You can literally see people carrying their whole house, like
Yeah.
moving. People can see I'm moving houses, and they don't need to rent a van or a truck. They just start packing their stuff on a
Bicycle.
bicycle, you
Yeah.
know. Like, in fact, there are more bicycles than humans in this country, if you
Yeah.
ask me. Then I don't know. I posted a video and talked about the weather, and someone said it's not a culture shock. Yeah, whatever, but it's something for me. Like this, it's always raining, all tide
And
raining
windy.
and windy, you know. Speaking about the weather, I mean, if you're coming here for the first time, especially if you're coming from our part of the world now, Africa, you need to start taking vitamin D when you get here because there's not a lot of sun and you can actually start having deficiency if you do not take it. Just need to lay
It
down and
makes
come
you
out.
moody. Like you wake up,
Depressed.
you're just sad just
Yeah.
because there is no sun.
Yeah. So, yeah.
In general, how has your experience been with the
Yeah,
healthcare?
okay.
I mean, I'm asking this question because a lot of people have different
Yeah.
experiences. Some people would tell you the healthcare is slow. Some people would tell you, "Oh, it was nice for me." I think you're one of those people who say it was nice for you. So, before we talk about some of those other experiences that are not so nice, maybe you can just share your experience.
I think for me, the healthcare system has been okay. For me, when I came, I did not register with the GP on time, which is something you should do when you come to the country. As soon
Yeah.
as you come and you settle, register with the GP because if you do not do that, when you now need to see a GP urgently, it might be difficult, you know. So for me, when I came to the country, I actually had a very bad skin rash and I didn't get a GP on time. So after I got to GP, it took like 2 weeks to get an appointment. And that's where I want to start from. Sometimes it might be difficult to get an appointment, and some people tend to think that, oh, it's not nice, these people are not responding to my need, they feel like they're not seeing the importance of it. But once you understand that registering on time is very important and calling them on time too, and maybe sometimes exaggerate because people say you have to do that, you
Yeah.
know, then
Yeah.
you can get an appointment. But for me, I've not had issues, and people will ask, how are you able to tell them you want this? I just go, and I've had friends that will say, when you go, just tell them what you want. So for the GP, if I want a blood work, I just say, is it possible for me to do like a test? I want to check my body, my kidney. I want to check
Yeah.
how my blood is functioning. I want to check my vitamin D and am I anemic? What's wrong with me? And they're like, yeah, you can have it. I just had one on Tuesday, you know, I told you.
Yeah.
And they called me with the result. And I was also like, oh, can I also do another test? And yeah, I had it. So I don't know when people complain. I think sometimes, to be honest,
When she
the
says people,
system,
she's referring to me.
the system is
Because I
honestly,
think from
Dillion.
what I've seen from the
Yeah.
healthcare, like I was telling you, there are some things that you ask for and they tell you, why
Why?
do you need to check
I think
this?
you should give them a reason
Even when you
then.
give them a reason, they're like, maybe we treat that instead. Like, why do we have to check this? So for her, the way it's just so smooth to get access to these
Mind
things,
you, I'm
I'm
coming
like,
from a different city. I was in the city for
oh
like two
yeah.
years and I'm just coming to this new one. And I also was able to get what I
Yeah,
wanted.
it's I mean, I haven't asked a lot of questions, but some of the experiences I've seen, you really have to justify, and
Yes,
part
now.
of that justifying is also highlighting that you are not feeling well, you are sick. You have to highlight something that would be like, it's true, you really need to check this. But just say you want to check something because you want to know, yeah, the state of your health, just for yeah, just so you know about it. At least from what I have seen so far, we even had a healthcare training recently in my apartment, and they also highlighted these things. Like you ask some questions, they tell you you're not 30 years old yet. Don't worry about it.
Well,
So yeah, it's just interesting to see how it is for
for
you.
me, well, I think another thing too was I had friends that would say when you want to go to the GP, always like know what you want and do not back down. So when they're saying, it's not that important to say, but I really feel like I want to do it. My gut is telling me to do it. Like I was telling you of a friend who told us of his friend that felt like she had a lump in her breast. And because she was less than 30, they refused. She was saying that they did not want to do I don't know what I've forgotten what they do for breasts, to check your breast for cancer or check your breast. I don't know what I'm saying. And because there was a delay, later on they found out she actually had cancer. For someone like me, I would have kept insisting and insisting that I wanted to do it, even if I'm not yet up to 30. Like it's almost as if I'm in a court of law. I don't really like the feeling. Like I always have to say,
Yeah.
I want to do this because I
Yeah.
feel like, and I'm like,
Yeah,
but
there is this
that's
general
how it
idea that
is.
you have to exaggerate things
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
sometimes. If not,
yeah.
you won't get
Get what you want.
the treatment, or you won't get the information that you need.
Even for my son, I've not had any bad experiences with them too with my son. In fact, I even feel like my son has more priority than I do, which I really like. So if I call them now and I'm like, I feel like my son is very sick. Of course, it's normal for him to have temperature from time to time, and they
Yeah.
can just tell me, okay, watch it, and if it's not going down, you can come.
Yeah.
And I've called them one time before for my son and myself, and they gave him an appointment right away, and they told me to call back. So there's
They gave you
priority
an
for
appointment.
him
Okay, they
immediately.
gave him, but then they say you
And they
should
said I should
wait.
call back. It was funny, but I didn't
Yeah.
care because, of course, my son is more priority. He cannot speak,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so you need
yeah.
to always keep checking him. So I've really not
I think
had.
people also say this thing that in Netherlands it feels like the babies, the
Yeah.
kids and the elderly ones,
Yeah, I heard
they are
someone
the
say that too.
priority.
Someone
You
has
in the
said that to
middle.
me.
They're like,
Yeah,
ah,
you
you'll be
can go.
fine. You'll be fine.
Someone said that to me too,
If it
and it
doesn't
was
change
really
in 2
funny.
weeks, come back.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't really care because I mean the elderly ones are getting a bit frail and they need all the assistance they can get. And the younger ones cannot really express themselves. So all of us will be all right. The in-betweens.
We will try to be all right. Do you mind going into more detail on how your childbirth experience
Oh,
was?
okay. So when I was pregnant, I registered with a midwife, fellow Skundige. I don't know if I'm saying it well, but yeah, I had my visits with them for till I was later diagnosed with placenta previa. So I had to go to the hospital, and at the hospital, I had a lot of doctors come check me and everything. And in between, my cervix actually went up, so I was able to have the baby at the hospital, and it was nice. I mean, I spent I think 3 days at the hospital, and honestly, it was beautiful. The doctors were nice, and they were not angry to speak English, because sometimes I was like, oh my god, this person is making me speak another language. But at that point, they just wanted me to understand what they were saying, and yeah, it was nice. After the delivery, I had a very rough delivery. So after the delivery, I had to go back home, and even the nurse on duty was like, I'm going to call a maternity. Is it maternity nurse they call them now? But they're called cramzog. The nurses that come to take care of you after you have the baby. And she was like, I'm going to call and make sure they send you one that is very experienced because you had a very rough birth, and I want someone that will be there for you and really care for you and your baby, and someone who can also speak English so it's
Yeah.
not difficult to communicate. And yeah, they sent another lady to the house on Sunday, but unfortunately that was her last shift for I think for the week. He has already had a lot of shifts. So that lady was not really conversant with English. She couldn't speak English very well, but it was still a very pleasant experience because she was willing to communicate. We had to use Google Translate and
Yeah.
everything. And I think she came for I think 8 hours for like 5 days because I already spent part of my time at the hospital. So
Yeah.
the nurses taking care of me too. They also counted it as part of my cram's dog
Yeah. Yeah.
hours. Yeah. And it was nice. She would clean the bed, bathe the baby, do the laundry. Even wanted to cook for me, but I was like, no, no, no. My sister-in-law was also around, so she didn't have to do all that. Of course, in between, the midwife also called, excuse me, and also came to see me in the house because my business ended with them when I had to stop the visit with them and go to the hospital,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
they still came to see me twice and was also asking how I was doing mentally and everything. So it was really nice. And I think I really love the Kramzog, the whole idea behind the Kramzog, because for someone who's just having a child for the first time and I'm away from home,
Yeah.
it's not like I've had a child before. And my
Yeah.
sister-in-law too has not had a baby before. So we're just clueless people with a
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
So having someone come to the house to teach you these things and tell you what to expect and what not to expect and to reassure you that, oh, if he's making that sound when he's sleeping, doesn't mean he's dying. Okay. It's just a baby. Was
Yeah.
really, really something that I appreciate honestly.
All of this, was it part of your health insurance?
Yes, but I had to pay part of the hours. I can't remember now, but the government paid part of the hours, and I paid part of the hours for the maternity nurse now, the Kramzog.
That is after. Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
after
yeah.
the
But
delivery.
with the everything. I mean, I spent days in the hospital. I think I spent up to 8K when they sent me the bill, but it was covered by the insurance because I had a medical necessity to have my baby at the hospital.
Yeah.
But even at that, even if you don't have a medical necessity and you later have complications, it's also covered too.
Yeah, you also mentioned something about how some people would rather want to have midwives with their assistants come over to their homes
Yeah, home
to have
birth.
their child delivery.
Yeah, it's a very common practice. It's a very common practice here in the Netherlands. But for me, I mean, I grew up in Nigeria and we always have our babies at the hospital. So for me, it didn't make sense that I had to pay to give birth at the hospital. Because they'll tell
Yeah.
you that literally it's like renting a bed at the hospital. And you still have your midwife come to the hospital to
Yeah.
deliver the baby, you know. But when I had the medical necessity, I don't know if it makes sense, but I was happy because I could have my baby at the hospital, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I think I felt more safe at the hospital, but honestly, I think from what I've heard, the midwives are very, very skilled. And if you are comfortable, you can actually have your baby at home. And even if you feel like, what if something goes wrong, they can always just call the ambulance to come pick you up. And
Yeah.
in no time, you'll be at the hospital too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. What aspect of all of this would you say stood out to you the most? I mean, you already talked about how coming from Nigeria, you wanted to have your baby at the hospital, of course,
Yeah.
but was there any other part of the experience you had with the midwives or with the hospital itself that just stood out to you? Maybe you didn't see it coming, you didn't expect it to be like this.
I think I already said it, but I'll say it again. You know, being a foreigner coming from a different part of the world and coming to a country, you know, I was scared because I've seen some stories online. People will say, "Oh, the doctors were so mean, they were racist, they didn't want to speak English with me, I didn't know what was going on." So I had like 1,001 thoughts in my head, right? But honestly, I spent I think 3 days, but I had my labor for like 2 days, and in between, you know, people they change their shifts, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I did not even feel it, honestly. Like when this person leaves and the next person comes, it's almost as if they had the same personality. Always nice, cheerful. Do you
Nice.
know at some point the doctor came, but I couldn't see him, but he was speaking like an African. What is going on there? I was like, oh, I think there's an African man here, and he came and it was a white guy. It was a doctor. It was a Dutch. I'm like, and he was like, oh, actually, I have a lot of African friends. Hope you're very funny because African people are so funny. And he was like, okay, oh, bye bye. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Yeah,
That person must
yeah,
have learned.
yeah, that guy has doing a lot of, you know, but yeah, so they always made me feel comfortable. Even when I had is it CTG they call it now? I can't remember these things again. Like they're monitoring my baby's heartbeat, and if I move at some point, they wouldn't see anything on the screen. They'll just rush into the room like, "Hope your baby is okay. Hope you're okay." Like I
Yeah.
could feel the genuine concern. I didn't feel like a foreigner or at that point like I think at that point everything just felt like it was just more like we want to save this baby and we want to save this mother. So it really stood out for me. It kind of reassured me that the healthcare system here, they really have to just do their job irrespective of color or wherever you come from. Honestly, that was my personal experience. So I had a visit from the consultative bureau. They came to the house to check me to
What?
consultative bureau. I think it's still GGD.
Consultative.
Consultation bureau.
Say
But it's
consultation
consultative,
bureau.
but we are here
Consultation
now.
bureau.
Well, it's called consultative bureau.
Consultative bureau.
Yeah, but that's the Dutch this thing now.
I know. It's
Now we
consultative bureau.
yeah. So I had a visit from the consultative bureau, and yeah, they wanted me to talk through the whole process, and because they knew it was a very hard delivery. I think they do it for everyone, sha, but they asked how I was feeling. Yeah, they wanted to know my mental state, and yeah, it just came, checked, and then I had two visits from the midwife. One, she came because she wanted to see how I was doing, and the second time because I had a tear over there, a bit down there. I felt like I wasn't healing properly. Even though the maternity nurse was reassuring me that I was healing properly, she just didn't. I felt like I wanted a second opinion.
Yeah.
So she called her and she came and she reassured me that no, it's healing properly. Don't think anything is wrong. Nothing is wrong. And I also had another appointment with the doctor that did the delivery, 6 weeks later, for her to just check up on me and see how I was doing. And hope I don't feel bad that my delivery went that way. And also to reassure me that it's possible that my next delivery will not be like that.
Oh wait, the Kramzog is different from the midwife. Yeah.
Yes, the midwife is the one that you see throughout the pregnancy
Yeah.
and delivers your baby if you have a baby at home, or even if you want to have it at the hospital without a medical necessity.
Yeah.
So my relationship with the midwife stopped when they diagnosed it, you know. So I
Okay.
didn't even see her until after I had the baby. She
Okay.
came twice to see me.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then the
The
cramps.
Kramzok.
What's the English?
I think it's maternity nurse. I can check.
Maternity nurse.
I
Okay.
think so. I really want to check. I just hope
Oh,
I've
so
been
you're just
saying.
using the Dutch words. You're not making me feel like I don't know Dutch.
Do you know Dutch before?
In, incline Beja.
That is foot.
Yeah, maternity. Yeah.
Maternity nurse, right? Ah,
Yeah.
thank God.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that one was coming how frequently?
She came for, I think it was supposed to be 8 days. But like I said, I already spent part of the days at
In
the
the hospital.
hospital. So
Yeah.
they counted part of it. So she came 5 days. I think she came from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I think, for 8 hours each day.
And my next question here was going to be about how the language and the communication was during all this, because I recently had an interview with someone who is studying medicine here. I'll link the interview below if you're interested. And the person highlighted how during your masters and even sometimes during the bachelor's, you really have to learn Dutch because that is how you communicate with your patients. So it's kind of easier for the Dutch people in those
Yeah.
fields. So I was just thinking about how that must have been for you. Was it something where the doctors were mostly speaking their language? Well, I think you already responded by saying that they were open to speaking English most of the time,
Yeah.
even sometimes Nigerian English. That
Yeah,
particular
that
doctor.
doctor. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I spoke English most of the time, but at some point I would even tell them that I'm learning Dutch. So they'll say, "Oh, what's so?" And they'll start to speak Dutch for me, and I'll try to pick what they're saying. And when I cannot pick, then they go back to English. Of course, I told you with the maternity nurse, she couldn't really
Yeah.
speak English, but you would see that there was no frustration on her face. She was willing to communicate. So we'll just use my phone. I would type and she would type to me, So there was willingness from on their part to speak English, and there was willingness on my own part
Part
to also
two.
learn. And my husband can speak Dutch more than I can. So even at the hospital, you will speak with them and you will see
Nice.
them light up when we
Nice.
speak. So they're like, so yeah. But like I
Okay.
was telling you, I really think it's important to learn the language
Yeah.
because sometimes when you have to communicate, like I had someone who wanted to call an ambulance a while ago and they couldn't speak Dutch, and I don't know, for some reason they couldn't get someone who could speak English, and it was really really
Yeah.
so much back and forth before they could get an ambulance. So anyways, in as much as they speak English here and it can make you feel lazy to not want to learn the language,
Yeah.
I really think it's good to learn in Beige Dutch. I mean in
In
Beige
Belgium.
Netherlands.
In Belgium, Netherlands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are willing to speak English, and honestly, that can cause some
Yeah,
laziness
listeners.
too. But I think it just helps the communication better because
Better, yeah.
in simple cases, yeah, if you don't know Dutch, it's fine. But in very urgent cases, you want to communicate things as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Just to slide into a bit of these experiences that weren't so good, have you had experiences from people who also didn't have good experiences apart from the ones online? I mean, like maybe people who didn't have a lot of good experiences with the healthcare, either related to child delivery or just some health concerns.
Yeah, I think I was talking to someone. She was telling me how as soon as she gave birth, they told her to go home because normally after you give birth, I think 4 hours you'll be sent back home. But of course, before you say why, that's where the cramsor comes, right? So after 4 hours or 5 hours, you go home. Then the cramsor comes to the
Goes with
house
you.
to teach you and everything, except there's a complication with you or the baby. But of course, like I was telling you, Dillion, if you're coming from a place where you can spend like 5, 6 days at the hospital, it wouldn't make sense to you when they
Yeah,
ask you to
come
go home.
here. Yeah.
So someone was telling me how she was angry, like, how would you tell me to go home? Immediately I had my baby, So it was not really a nice experience for her because I think she was alone, no family member, and yeah, even if you have the cramps dog, you still feel like you want to be at the hospital because some people feel that they are safe at the hospital in case
Yeah.
anything
Anything
happens.
goes on. Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, then
Yeah.
another time a friend of mine was telling me how we had like ear infection and they're like, hey, just keep watching it. And it was becoming very terrible. He said at some point he couldn't smell and it was even difficult for him to breathe at night. Like it took a while before they attended to him. And I'm like, I think that's where the exaggeration comes in. Like you have to say, I can't breathe, I can't sleep, and maybe they'll pick up your case or answer
Yeah.
you. Some people have complained. Like I always say, honestly, it's different from back home. Like back in some countries, you can just go to the counter
Yeah.
and get antibiotics, or you can just tell your doctor, this is what I want. But it's different here. So if you're already used to getting a drug for everything you
Yeah.
want back home, for
Yeah.
every pain you feel or every slight headache you have,
Yeah.
and you come here and all they always give is paracetamol. You will be frustrated. You will be
Yeah.
like the healthcare system sucks, but that's not true. It's quite different from back home, and I would advise you, take
Yeah.
out time to really understand the system. And one thing I've learned is that the Dutch healthcare system or Dutch, they like to try things or make things go as natural as possible. They don't like to use a lot of drugs. But like it or not, drugs are not even good. They have their own reactions that they have their own issues they cause in the body, you know. So they try to avoid it as much as possible. And some people might not like it because they just want to heal fast, you know. But if you really feel pain and you feel like they're not giving you enough attention, you can actually stand the ground and say, I want this. You know, very important. Yeah.
I think it's very interesting, or it's very nice that you are highlighting those examples, because indeed things are very different back home.
You know, back home, like not even about back home, like normally growing up, like when I had cold and flu, like I always just want to get drugs to just
Healing,
but do you know those drugs do not heal the cold? Because the cold will go on its own, it just has to go through its course. It just makes me relieved. It doesn't heal the so if I have if you have check when you have catarrh and cough, it doesn't heal. It will go through that 5 days. Have you ever taken drugs and it stopped? It must go through its full course, but just drugs you take just make you relieved.
Interesting.
Yeah, so when I had my son, one time he was coughing, you know, back home, you're even calling me, go to the hospital, tell them to give you this, tell them to give you that. And it doesn't work like that here. You call, they're like, it's going to be fine. It's normal for kids to have these things. And give it 2-3 days, my son is back. And I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't have to give him drugs here. And they wouldn't even give you, so it's not even about that. So I feel like sometimes the body can actually heal. The body can actually heal.
It's good you say sometimes too, because I've also seen some experiences where they're like, the body will heal, and then things get worse.
And that's why they will tell you that watch yourself. Like one time my son had like eye infection. His eyes were bringing out so many bad discharge. And I went, of course they answered immediately, oh, bring him. And they're like, it's possible, it's this, but it's possible it's an infection. Let's give it another 24 hours. And I said, okay, the next 24 hours, the discharge was like ×4. And they're like, okay, we have to prescribe something for him now. And he got something. At that point, they knew the body was not going to heal.
And that's like the interesting
urgency.
That's like the interesting part of these things, where until there is that urgency, they're like, you'll be fine. So I feel like, and that this is where also the exaggeration comes in, where you have to exaggerate. I'm bleeding, I cannot sleep, I'm dying. But again, it takes a lot of that adjustment, because for some of the Dutch people here, they may be used to these things, but it's we the internationals that are complaining, why is the healthcare like this?
And also I think you should realize that, like it or not, there are some people who need more
their priorities.
And you're calling them because you sprained your ankle. Why someone might actually need oxygen at that point? That person is at the verge of death.
But both of us were paying health insurance. Paying health insurance.
That's why sometimes it's funny when you call, they're like, is it urgent? Is it an emergency? Have you ever tried to call the emergency number? I called them once and they're like, can you still breathe? They said, then ma'am, you're calling the wrong number. It was funny, but I didn't even mention you're talking about negative experiences. Some people always complain that they always give them paracetamol for everything. Some people are always angry, like, I have headache, paracetamol, I have eye pain, paracetamol, I have ear pain, paracetamol. Some people always complain like that they don't like that part where you always have to give them paracetamol. So
I mean, it's nice that you're sharing a lot of these good experiences and also explaining some of the negative experiences. I feel like it cannot be perfect anywhere. Everybody will have their own. But I also think a huge part, like you've said, is also understanding and maybe even coming to terms with how the healthcare is here.
But do you know that the Netherlands is the only country where they practice the Kramzog? Yeah.
Really?
Yes. So, I mean, it's something, right?
Yeah, well, it's something.
Because for someone like me, I'm coming, like I've said it before, having that was really, really nice, you know. So it's the only place they practice it here. So when you talk about the bad, talk about the good. That was a good one.
Yeah, true.
That was
this video is not to say the Netherlands has the perfect healthcare, but it's just to also give some explanations, at least based on how we understand it, of some of the things happening here. And just like you said, I think it really takes a lot of mental shift of like, this is how it's done back home.
And
fine,
it's different.
good,
it's different,
but it's different.
Like even with my pregnancy, right? That's like I went for a pregnancy free group class talking about pregnancy in the Netherlands.
Was going to be about
no, that one's different.
Oh, it's different.
This one was just a voluntary. This one was just a free class. Like I just saw it online and I went, right? And one of the questions someone was asking was that back in her country, she can have ultrasound scan as much as she wants. Why is it just 3 times here? And the woman was like, yeah, your insurance covers just 3 times. If you want more, you're free. You can go. And she was not giving an instance of someone that thought she could have as much as she wanted. And she had it. But the next thing, she saw a bill and she was confused, you know. So when I came here, I knew I was going to have just 3, I think. But I had more anyways because of my medical necessity, right? But if I was like, why is it like that? I want to have more. Why did they give just 3? If I did not have that mental shift, I would be angry and would even want to pay out of my pocket to get more.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it was not even necessary to get more, you know. So
But anyways, moving on to the question, which is around community. So I've seen stories online where people after childbirth are often part of a community or support group, either of locals or internationals. So I want to, the question is, were you involved in anything like this afterwards?
yeah, it was one. I mean, when I think I went for my 21 weeks vaccine for whooping cough. The lady asked how I was doing mentally. They will always ask how you're doing mentally. Did you want this pregnancy? How is your spouse reacting to the pregnancy? Are you excited to see your baby? You know, just want to evaluate you to see if you're not depressed and all that, because you know how being in a foreign country and not having family members can take a toll on your mental health, you know. So I said, yeah, I'm doing okay. And she was like, oh, by the way, it's a group actually for mainly international moms that have been in the Netherlands, just like you, who really want to move around with themselves and all that. Are you interested? I was like, of course, I'm interested. I think we were like 10 in the group, and I got to introduce myself to them and actually went out with 2 of them. And the other one was even proposing another meeting, but I wasn't free before she left my city. Yeah, but it was really nice. And the lady also came to my house too, the lady in charge of the group. She came to my house to see me and to check how I was doing and everything.
That's super nice. I
It's
believe
good.
such things will be very helpful.
Yeah, because I could ask them questions and all that, and it was really, really nice. Of course, they're foreigners like me, so they will understand some of the questions I ask more than just any
Maybe locals,
random person. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that has been mostly the questions regarding healthcare,
Okay.
but I don't know if you have any. Well, one more question I have here is like the process of integrating into Dutch society. But you have already talked about adapting to that. I don't know if there's any more things you want to add on how you have been able to integrate so far.
I think for me, one of the ways I've been able to was going to church. I always tell people that if you're a Christian, one of the best ways to integrate is by going to the church. Have a community, you know. It should be like your go-to, you know. For me, going to the church and meeting, and my church is an international church, so we have both Dutch and people from all parts of the world, so to say, you know. So yeah, they're like my first family. Like when I came, I was pregnant, you know. After I registered with the maternity, with the midwife, next thing they gave me a list. It was in Dutch, and also it was in Dutch, yeah. But I had a friend in church that was already here. She already had a son, and I could always ask her, Amma, what is this? What is that? You know, because the things people use back home in Nigeria is different from the things they use here. You know, yeah. My church was there for me, and I also actually went to a language class too. I went to classes before I became pregnant and sick, and I could not continue my classes. So I also followed like the city I was living in. I followed them on Instagram. So when I see like a free workshop or something, I also just go so I can talk to people and you know they can share. They always share ideas, talk about things in my city that I would have not known if I just sat down at home or if I had not joined those groups. So yeah, those little things helped me to, you know, integrate more in the
Oh, nice.
society.
Super
Yeah.
nice. Super nice. Well, that is basically all the questions, but I just thought of one question now and
Okay.
I want to share it. I know for a while now you haven't been working,
Working.
right?
Yeah.
How were you able to navigate, the child delivery and your work? But then I don't know how long you have been working.
Oh, when I just came, I work as a freelancer. Yeah, I work as a freelancer. I'll go to I think one of the reasons I like that job was I could go to different cities, you know, see the places and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah, but I had to stop because, of course, I got pregnant. But even that few months I worked as a freelancer, do you know, like, I got some money from the government. Yeah.
From the government?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I paid my tax when I was working, so I was able to get something for 16 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Oh,
It was really,
nice.
really nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
But I haven't been able to work now, but hopefully I get back into the field when my son starts going to daycare or something. Yeah. So that's
Nice.
it.
Oh yeah, thanks for sharing all of this. And I think even for me, this gives a lot of insight on how the healthcare is here. Because definitely you would see a lot of negative,
No, it's been
negative
positive,
reviews
positive
online.
for me
Well, I'm
also.
happy for you. Must be nice. But I hope that this video also does maybe a bit of justice or does some explanation on why things are the way they are here. And also thanks for sharing your childbirth experience too.
Yeah,
I
you're
have a
welcome.
colleague at the office who also mentioned like positive things about the
Yeah.
childcare experience. The
The crumbs all come to the
crumbs, so
house.
like coming to the house,
Yeah, I
how they
think you will
spent.
enjoy it more when you have other kids, you know. So if I have another child now,
Yeah,
they can help with OVA. My son, maybe when he wants to play, they'll be with him. They
yeah,
wouldn't let him disturb mama and the
yeah.
newborn.
Oh
They'll
yeah.
prepare his
Oh
lunch, you
nice. Oh
know,
nice.
and try to make him feel comfortable with the
Yeah.
new baby, you know. But for me, I had just one, so she didn't really do so much. But I know when I have another one, it would,
To be very
I would,
helpful.
yeah,
Yeah.
to be really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My colleague talked about how they paid like very little in the hospital and how their insurance covered most of those things.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was really nice. Well, again, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And
hope
if,
to have more interviews with you. We'll talk
yeah,
about other
no
parts of
wahala.
Netherlands
Yeah.
aside
Yeah.
healthcare. Well, thanks for joining us again, Tegah. And yeah, I think for the year 2024, I want to do more interviews like this, interviewing people in the Netherlands. They're sharing their stories, how they're
Maybe you could even
navigating.
go on the street.
That is part
That's
of
a good
the
one.
plan, yeah. But just to see how people are navigating
Mm.
things, internationals or even locals. So that is the inspiration behind videos like this, where we get to see how the healthcare works. If you enjoy videos like this, please share with others that may find it
Give it a thumbs
helpful,
up.
and give it a like too. That really helps the algorithm and it helps my channel grow. I want my channel to grow. And also subscribe for more videos like this. And I have a playlist too on studies in Netherlands too. Still interviewing people on how they are getting scholarships and all those things. I'll leave the necessary links below. And that's about it for this video. Thanks for joining us. And thanks again, Tegah, for
You're
sharing your
welcome.
stories with us.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.